Hey, thanks for coming on this week's podcast. This week we're going to talk real quick about not getting as many insurance referrals as you have in the past. And I want to start off and just kind of introduce myself. My name's Ken French. I think it's important you understand that I come from a background in the insurance industry. I got involved in the business back in the late 90s. And back then, we used to have a family business that was kind of like a wholesaler, a general agency, and they kind of made me the IT guy there. Not the IT guy for our employees, but for our clients who were independent agents. And it kind of started off with me helping our agents get away from faxing. And I kind of taught agents how to set up their own email address and then how to scan. And then it was getting rid of the filing cabinets, right? And trying to have an agency management system. And as the years started to go by, I started to help our producers build their first websites. Well, to make a super duper long story short, healthcare reform came and that business ended up getting sold. And when it got sold, me and Kerry decided to start our own company called Snoozy. And really, what we do is we work specifically with independent insurance agents, helping them build their own websites, keep their social media presence active, and all that kind of stuff that's really necessary in today's market. But what I want to talk about today is, maybe you're not getting as many referrals as you used to. And, all I've been doing literally for 22 years is talking to independent insurance agents and kind of going through how they do things and analyzing it and trying to give them ideas. And one of the most common phone calls I've been getting this year is kind of like, hey, since COVID, I'm just not getting as many referrals as I used to. And I'm scratching my head. I don't understand what's different, what's wrong. And, I'm reaching out for help. That's a common call I get. And these producers who are calling me, these are not rookies. These are producers who have been in the game for 10 to 15 to 20 years, who have been very successful, kind of growing their business organically with, working hard and understanding the products and getting referrals, but they're kind of stuck. And what I find is the issue, and it's always the same issue, is these producers have not, they have not become accountable for their online presence. Usually the first question I ask them is, well, do you have a website? And either they say, no, I don't, or they say, yes, I do, but I haven't looked at it in 5 years. Then I say, well, what about social media? Do you have a LinkedIn profile? Do you have a Facebook business page? And I usually get maybe, I'm not sure, maybe I set one of those things up. So what I try to explain is I say, look, I get it. When you meet with somebody and you talk to them, you always write the policy and help them and do a great job. The problem you're having is that the consumer has evolved. COVID has created a little bit of a different shopping experience. It doesn't mean that the consumer is going to go online and physically buy a policy without an agent. But what it does mean is if somebody is referred to you, they're not going to just blindly call you. They're going to do a little bit of diligence. They're going to do an online background check on you to make sure that they're comfortable working with you. And I think what it starts with is it starts with making sure you pass that background check. So usually that's what I suggest to anybody initially. I say, have you tried Googling yourself? What comes up? Does a website come up? Does a LinkedIn profile come up? Does a Facebook page come up? And I always kind of find it kind of sad to some extent when the agent says, look, I don't care about that LinkedIn profile. I don't use LinkedIn. Who cares? And it's kind of like, this is your problem. Don't you understand that the consumer is Googling you and they're finding this LinkedIn profile, which is very poorly set up, and it makes you look poor. It makes you look sloppy. It makes you look like somebody I don't want to call. And I think that that's the root of the problem. So how do we fix it? Well, how we fix it is you need to make sure that number one, you have an insurance website. It's got to tell your story. It's got to let people know what carriers you represent and what your product focus is. If you sell Medicare or other compliance kind of products, you really need to have like a contact form that allows you to contact them back. And it probably needs to have educational tools and and functionality on it because again, this could be somebody's first impression of you. And the consumer could be comparing you with two or three other producers that they've found or have been referred to you. So it's a competition. Um, I think that's kind of where social media comes in. Yes, I understand some of you don't like social media, you don't care about it. Look, if that's the case, delete your pages now. Get off there. If you are going to have a profile, you must be accountable for it. It's kind of like an office back in the 90s. If you had an office back in the 90s, would you leave a hole in the wall if somebody was coming to meet with you? Of course not. That would be incredibly embarrassing. Somebody walked into your office and saw this terrible, disheveled office. Well, it's the same philosophy with social media. If you're going to have these pages, you need to keep them looking good. You need to be posting weekly so that they're active and they show you're the expert. If somebody comes to your Facebook business page and you haven't posted in 15 months, how does that make you look? It makes you look like somebody who starts things and then doesn't follow through. And that's exactly what the consumer has been warned about. Be careful of scams. Be careful of people promising you things. So it all adds up, is my point. And I don't think it takes a tremendous amount of money. I don't think it takes a tremendous amount of time, but it starts with understanding, hey, the reason I'm not getting as many referrals as I used to is a percentage of these people are searching for me online and what they're finding is not impressing them. So what I suggest is, you kind of need to have four key items. You need to have a website. You really need to have a local Google business listing. Again, that's free. You really should have a basic LinkedIn profile that has a little bit of a summary about you and has your picture. And you need to have a Facebook business page for your insurance operation where you're posting at least once a week. To me, these are not, these are not things that are these are requirements in today's world. And whether you look at the insurance industry, you look at a lawyer, you look at an accountant, you look at a local restaurant, these companies that are successful, they all have these items. These are parts of what the consumer wants to see to feel comfortable about you and your brand. So, if you're kind of stuck and you need somebody to help you, I would highly suggest taking a look at our website, benefitstore.net. We try to keep things very affordable. Our background is in the insurance industry, and I would be happy to set up kind of like a 15 to 20-minute consultation with you just to talk through where you are, what you're trying to do, and how I could potentially help you. But regardless if I can help you or not, if that phone ain't ringing like it used to, I would go Google yourself and see what the consumer is finding, because the one thing that I feel very confident in, nobody is ever going to call you up and say, hey, I was referred to you, but I did some diligence on you and you didn't stack up. So I chose not to call you. No, you're never getting that phone call. It's kind of like a silent killer. You're getting referrals and you're not converting the referrals because of the consumer's processes. So I hope this was helpful. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about what you should be doing on social media, and we'll go from there. Thanks again and have a great day. Bye-bye.